Hello, and welcome back to Water Moon Cards. Thank you for joining me today for this revisit of my Card of the Year spread. This is one I had published on my old channel, and I wanted to reintroduce it to those of you who may not have seen it before, or if you were missing it, if you were trying to go back and do this for yourself and couldn't find it, I just wanted to put it out there again. So this spread was developed a few years ago. It was based on a much more complicated spread by Katie Flowers, and I decided to reduce it down to just 5 positions. So even though you see more cards than that on the table here, I'll explain that in just a second. And it's really meant to look at the year as a whole and some different aspects of the card of the year itself. So that's the card that we see in the middle. In this case, we have a strength card here in the middle. The way that I like to choose my card of the year is to shuffle just the triumphs or just the majors on their own and choose one at random. And the reason I like to do that over a calculated card of the year is that in my own experience, my cards of the year have not really felt like they went in sequence. In other words, I didn't go from a magician year to a high priestess year to an empress year to an emperor year and so forth. Life doesn't seem to be that ordered and predictable in my experience. And that's been true for my friends as well. That, we'll look at their birth date and try to calculate their card of the year, but that's just not really where their energy is or, where their challenges are arising and so forth. So to me, it's much better to lean on tarot's strengths of synchronicity and randomness and coincidence in order to give us our card of the year, like we would draw cards for any other kind of reading. So once you've drawn your card of the year, then you'll shuffle all of the triumphs back into the pack, and you'll choose cards for 4 more positions. Now you can choose a single card per position, or you can pull in extra cards per position if you like to read more than one card in one position. And there's advantages and disadvantages to each of those techniques, and maybe I'll talk about that in the second separate video. So I just wanted to show kind of an example here. I also have another sample on my blog, which is my actual personal card of the year reading for 2025. But if you go to watermoon.blog, you will find it there, along with some other information about me. So let's just go through this reading and I'll explain the positions. But all the notes are also in that blog post if you don't want to take notes. Again, we have the card of the year chosen at random. And then in the first position, which in this case is going to be any cards in the upper left-hand corner. So you can draw a single card here, 2 cards, 3 cards, whatever you want. This is going to be the question of what aspect of the card of the year is going to be most prominent this year. So for example, here we have the strength card, the King of Coins, and the Ace of Chalices. So we're going to be stronger or facing opportunities to gain strength in the areas of sort of knowledgeable about maybe personal finances or our tangible daily lives, and also being strong when it comes to family ties, our emotional well-being, that kind of thing, and potentially a new development in that area. And then the second position, the upper right-hand corner, this represents or answers the question, how do we incorporate that energy into our daily activity? So how can I incorporate the energy of the King of Coins and the Ace of Chalices with this strength card into my daily experience? Another way of looking at that might be, how can I best use this energy in my daily life? So if we're looking at the 5 of Coins, perhaps talking directly to this King of Coins, I can maybe change my patterns of how I'm using my personal finances, or change my patterns of where I'm putting most emphasis. Maybe I need to diversify, how I'm approaching my income stream, or maybe I've lost some kind of income and I need to find something else that's practical and that I can really do well, that I know is a strength of mine, that kind of thing. And then I'm seeing, in this case, the Six of Wands, maybe talking to the Ace of Chalices. How can I incorporate that? I can balance out my passions. I can balance out where I'm putting my energy and making sure that it, fills my cup, for example. Then in the lower left, the third position here, we have what obstacle is most likely to come up. So in trying to do all these things and incorporate these energies, what obstacles are we going to face? And here we have the Three of Swords and the Four of Wands. So I might read this as something like, growth is painful. It challenges us to really take a look at, how we think we're running our lives or who we think we are. And that ties back to the practical matters as well as this inspiration piece and our emotions. And then we also don't want to get too stagnant in repeating the same patterns over and over, or too stagnant in the ways that we try to lift ourselves up. Maybe we need to try something different in this next year when we do face an obstacle, rather than relying on things that have worked in the past. And then the last position, which again is 2 cards, is going to be the lower right-hand corner. And in this case, we have Judgment and the Four of Chalices. This last position talks about the advice that we face to overcome this obstacle. And Judgment I would take as maybe a call to self-reflection and figuring out what's working and what's not. Again, with the Four of Wands being perhaps more stagnant or more safe, is that really serving us? Or do we need to move on to something else? And at the same time, being very emotionally grounded when we do this self-reflection, because oftentimes self-reflection can result in us just feeling bad about ourselves and saying, I'm a terrible person for having these habits. I'm a terrible person for, not seeing what's right in front of me. I'm not good at this. I'm not strong enough, et cetera, et cetera. And that kind of self-talk and emotional self-sabotage is not helpful. So what to do, the advice to do, is to ground yourself and just recognize that emotions come and go, and that really what you're looking at is the big picture, the whole year, and looking at maybe changing some patterns that haven't served you very well and how that can help you stabilize emotionally. So that was just an off-the-cuff reading. I did not script that out, but you can see how the positions 1 through 4 really speak back to the central card and also play off each other. And that's what I wanted to emphasize by giving you this sample reading. So again, thanks for being with me and checking out this spread. If you try it out, I'd love to know what you think of it. And especially if you try reading for other people, let me know what they think of it, if they found it helpful or insightful. I also like to tell people when I'm reading for them, especially with this, that these kinds of big readings can apply to any aspect of your life. So it's not just about your relationships or your personal development, but it could be about your career, your family life, any new projects you're taking on that year. It could really go in any direction, and any aspect of this reading could apply to any of those areas of your life. So I hope you'll give this a try and let me know what you think of it. And thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.